Four, 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of ground and pound punches. These are the main punches that you're gonna use when you're striking on the ground. John Danaher calls this grapple box, which I think is kind of weird, so we're just gonna call it ground and pound. So this is the basic philosophy of how we attack with our hands on the ground and a couple of the different types of punches that you need to know. The first thing that we need to talk about is weight distribution and what parts of our body we're using to develop power. Very different than striking when you're standing up, but there are some similarities. Rotating your torso is going to help to generate power. Also, using your legs. When we're striking, especially in front of the guard, it can be very useful to stand up on one leg or even two, and then to use those legs to help you rotate your torso. But if I am punching and my opponent's spine and my spine are perpendicular, one is facing up, one is facing out, there's not gonna be a whole lot of power on strikes with most strikes. When we are wanting to really deliver powerful shots, there's going to be a lot of crunching of my abs, okay, and that will bring my spine and my opponent's spine into much more of a parallel position. If I stay tall while punching, no matter what kind of punch I'm using, there's just not a lot of power on it. Even if I rotate, there's still not a lot of power. My use of my core to crunch is gonna bring my body much more parallel to my opponent's body. Now, it's way easier to develop real power and make sure that it's going into the opponent. The first kind of strike we're going to talk about is a sky hook, and we're using this crunching philosophy. Now, whenever I am on the ground in front of the guard and I want to strike, I do not want to adopt this kind of a stance with my legs. Okay, this positioning with my legs is really not that advantageous because it's hard to actually get strength on anything. What I want to be on my toes like that. That's gonna be easy for me to get up to a foot or just keep my knees down and use my legs to help me power my punches. Okay, so I'm starting in a postured position and I'm gonna punch up to down. When I do that, I want to crunch my core. So I'm here and I'm crunching to the side, rotating my shoulders. My arm is gonna come up and down. Unlike striking on the feet, there's no real counter punch that's possible, so it doesn't hurt me to wind my arm up. You don't have to keep your hands like this, although you can use them to reach out and deal with the legs. When I throw, I'm going to swing my arm around and down. I'm gonna crunch my core, and I'm gonna drive out of my leg. You can see that I'm taking my head from one side of the bag and I'm ending it on the other side of the bag. And that's going to increase my power. If I keep it on the one side, it's very difficult to deliver power. So I'm going to cross. Bang, bang, bang. From 1 foot. Okay, I can do that from both feet. Devastating power. Another great thing about this, their head has nowhere to go, right? Unlike striking on the feet, they're here, that shot's going right into them, and their head doesn't even have anywhere to go, so no weight will be taken out of it. Bang, straight into the floor, getting sandwiched. Another strike that I like to throw from more of a standing position is the straight punch. The straight punch is very useful on the ground, just like it is very useful standing up. And this is, you can really watch Anderson Silva for this strike. I feel like he was one of the best to ever do it. A lot of his knockouts came actually on the ground after he had dropped the person. He gets on top of them and just rains down laser beam accurate straight punches. A lot of the time when we're doing this kind of strike, you just knock the person down. So you're gonna have to get past their legs. And you can do that with several different gripping forms that we'll show in a different video. Essentially, I wanna be like this, a little bit past their guard on one side or the other. And you could even have one foot in and one foot out, but you're not gonna be right in front, okay? You're gonna be a little bit on the side. And then you're throwing those punches straight down like that. Bang, 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 bang. And you can see when I'm finishing these shots, I'm not postured up still, right? My spine isn't facing the sky. I am creating that horizontal spine in order to really, boom, get power on those punches. Another way that we can use our body to create a lot of power with our hands is the Russian hook. We did that left hook video. I'm sure most of you guys remember that. So the Russian hook is not this. Okay, the Russian hook is this. Don't use this hook. Even on the ground, don't use it. This will work really well in positions like scarf hold, side control. You're past the guy's guard. You're not holding his head. You're sitting kind of on his hip. Legs can be like this. Legs can be like this. Doesn't really matter. And now we're going to swing back. Okay, you really need a lot of extension on your arm with this. And then you're trying to hit with the back of the knuckle. There's a bend in my arm. I'm not keeping my arm straight, but it won't be too big, okay? If the bend is too big, I don't feel like the power is delivered. So it's just past 90 degrees. That's the kind of shape I want. Okay, and I'm swinging and whipping that in with the back of my index knuckle. Now, if you were trying to use what people would call an American hook, right, which is like this, for this same thing, you're gonna end up hitting these knuckles, okay? And as you can see, the glove doesn't cover them. So that can be okay. Actually, I see, who was it? Chimaev. Chimaev punches like that on purpose. And maybe if you develop the calluses and strength of those knuckles through conditioning, then that could be a strategy you could utilize in order to get cuts and stop fights that way. Not out of the question. Although what has been seen to work for years is this. Very, very powerful strike, and it's available in many different places. We see this same shot when our opponent is in kind of a turtle position. Imagine the bag was this position, okay? Cowering on the fence, trying to build his base back. Okay, so when I'm in that shot, the side of the ear is a great spot to attack. We're gonna do it with that same Russian hook. Much better than trying to use a straight weapon. Won't even fit the hole properly. That's what we want, that back hook. Sky hook won't work because this is gonna be the back of his head. Couldn't really do that. That's our shot. Now you can see some really great practitioners utilize this. Notably, I would say Igor Vovchanchyn. Those of you that are old school enough to remember that. Fedor. Fedor would even punch like this standing up. And you see some Russian boxers actually do punch like that standing up, and it can be useful, especially at a long distance. But on the ground, boom, boom, boom. Even in front of the guard, you can generate a lot of power with those shots. Very, very, very good shots to use. Last strike we're going to talk about today, and we're not going over elbows. Elbows are a different thing. They're very, very useful on the ground. But we're just going to cover our hands today. Usually that's what you're going to be able to use in the gym anyway and when you're an amateur. Okay, so the last one is the hammer fist, right? This one's super fun because you can just feel like you're smashing stuff, okay, like the Hulk. Similar to the other strikes, I don't want to just stay really postured up. Although, if I was to stay postured up and keep my head very high, I feel like this strike will still generate a lot of force. You don't have to crunch quite as much as you do on the other ones, but if you do, it's going to add more power. When I throw the hammer fist, I'm not actually using my fist. I'm using this point, which is like the knuckle of my wrist. If I didn't have a glove on, I'd show you. Okay, the knuckle of my wrist right there, that's what I'm aiming with. I'm not aiming with my hand. My hand is kind of soft on that spot actually, and not that it wouldn't do any damage, it definitely would, but a bone will do more than a muscle, right? I'd rather hit him with a bone than a muscle. So it's like, oh, I'm really extending. I'm trying to engage my lat muscle as much as possible, pulling down, pulling my core, boom, bringing myself down like that. Great strike to use in a lot of places. I can use it from the guard. I can use it from knee on belly. And the mount is kind of an awkward place to punch. A lot of the time I'll do it with like straight punching. Truly elbows work best in the mount. But the punch that you could probably get the most power on in the mount would be the hammer fist. Another great application of the hammer fist, I used this in one of my earlier fights, is to finish the guy once you've knocked him down. Because once you knock him down, okay, a lot of the times they will hit the ground and they'll start waking back up. They'll try to grab you and give themselves some time to wake back up. So if you drop the person, right, if you drop them, boom, and then you try to just come in with like these big shots, a lot of times one or two of those are going to miss, and they're going to give them the opportunity to lock you up again. Once I drop the person, okay, I scoot by their legs to side control, and then I do rapid fire hammer fists, okay? Because I'm not really trying to, I've already done most of the damage. I just want to make sure that they stay asleep. So if they're trying to wake up, bah, 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 bah. Okay, and then the ref still doesn't step in. Okay, now that I've double tapped, I can go back to my bigger shots to really get them out. If I drop them, I'm gonna go. I use the small shots to set up the big shots. Once you get into the MMA basics course, okay, you're gonna see that theory a lot, right? It's like how you use the jab to set up the right hand, how you use small elbows to set up big elbows, because when you're trying to ground and pound, it's not actually as easy as a lot of people think it is. They're on the ground. They can't hit you back. Just hit them. Well, you still have to control them, or they just get away and stand back up or submit you or something. Also, a lot of the time when you really start trying to hurt people on the ground with ground and pound, they're going to lock you up. Okay, they're not just going to lie there. They're going to lock you up, and they're just going to try to stall. Get as close to you as they can and stall. So you'll oftentimes need smaller shots to destabilize their position so that you can land your bigger strikes. And we'll look at that more in depth in the course. We looked at 4 strikes today. Number 1, sky hook. You can find different spots to do this, but I find it usually best in the guard. We looked at the straight punch. And this is usually done, by me anyway, a little bit around the guard. I've got good control of the legs, or decent control of the legs. Bang, 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 bang. Pass to the other side. Straight down on the head. Then we looked at the Russian hook. Great inside control. Great in the turtle. Lastly, we looked at hammer fist. Okay? Very useful strike. Works from half guard. Works from side control. Works from the mount. And works from the guard. Okay, very, very versatile, very powerful. Okay, so if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you want to see more, click the link below. We'll get into the course. Thanks for watching. Peace out.